how many of us have woken up in the morning, whatever morning, and asked ourselves is this it? Is this what it's meant to be? Is this the version? Is this, what I need to be doing? How many of you fantasize about doing something else? The game doesn't get easier. The game gets bigger and it gets more challenging.
Hi, this is Coach Joe Lukacs, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed, smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode.
Hi, it's your coach, Joe Lukacs, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. In this episode, we are going to do something a little bit different. Every week I show up here and I want to give you guys some tangible tools, tips, things that are working out there in the field right now in advisor land. And this is not going to be that. What we're going to talk about in this episode is a little bit more philosophical. Now, for some of you, you may say, well, I don't do that, and I'm going to bounce out here. And I would encourage you to give me at least the first 5 minutes of this episode. Here's why we're having this conversation. I think a lot of times, and this is more of a societal thing, is that we are driven to always want to do more. And what I mean by more, we're talking about money. And money's not a bad thing. This is not a anti-money thing or anything like that. I mean, I like making a lot of money too. However, a lot of times you can hit your economic goal and still feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied, and unsuccessful. And if those three words just resonated with you, I want you to hang in with me, because I'm going to tell you several stories of clients, my own story, while having just economic goals to make more, to have more, is usually a path to ruin, not just in the game of being an advisor, but also in the game of life. Now, I believe, and if you don't agree with it, then you're definitely not going to listen to this, that in my early 60s and being an entrepreneur my entire life and coaching advisors now for over 31 years, I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've seen what super success looks like. I've seen what borderline absolute failure looks like, right? I've survived 2 near-death economic experiences in my entrepreneurial career, which a lot of people don't know about. Before I became a coach, I was very much a real estate investor, and we did a lot of things, myself and partners, and this is back in my very, very early 20s. And some of you are old enough to remember when all the savings loans went south, and there was a thing called the RTC, the Resolution Trust Corporation. We didn't like those people, and they didn't like us because, and again, I didn't go bankrupt. But man, I went from my early 20s making a lot of money back then, having 3 or 4 cars. If there was Instagram out there at the time, I want you to hear me on this. If Instagram was a thing back then, I would have been one of those people on Instagram with the cars and everything. That would have been me. And scale too fast. And my whole goal, just so everybody's understanding, this is going to be a unique episode. I got into that business because I wanted to make a lot of money. Flat out. I grew up kind of poor, right? Lower middle class. Money was always a big thing in my house, or lack of money was always a big thing in my house. I remember my favorite show, this may not be a good frame, but I'm going to give it to you guys anyway. When I was a kid, my favorite show, and I want to say it was Sunday nights, and I want to say it was ABC. I could be mistaken. It was Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Some of you remember that show. And again, I think it was Sunday nights at ABC. I could be wrong. I used to watch that show religiously, and I just wanted to be those people. And I was a teenager, maybe even like 13, 14. And I just wanted that because I didn't have that. And I would do anything legal to do that. I would never do anything illegal. And so I dedicated, that's why I got into personal development. That's why I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 17 years old. Like I was just going to do it. And I met some guys who were older than me and they had some money and I had the idea. We went and we, without getting into too much detail, we did a lot of work in Hudson and Union counties in New Jersey. Union City with apartments in the condos. Like we were just doing all kinds of stuff. Really willing and dealing. And then it's like musical chairs. We didn't sit down fast enough, and we wanted one more song, and it was one song too many, and we lost it all. And I tell you that because I think for a lot of that was in my early to mid 20s. That was really gut check time for me. Like I had cars repossessed. Like I remember driving cars like to a dealer and walking home because I had to give it up. And I don't talk a lot about this. In fact, I don't remember the last time I really ever talked about this. And the reason I share this is because I know what failure's like. Like if you're starting out in this business, like I know what it's like to be on the cusp. In fact, my attorney said you're better off. I was adamant not to go bankrupt because I didn't want that identity. So we did a lot of workouts. But it still was 5 years. And the reality is I would have been economically way better off just declaring bankruptcy. Way better off. But I didn't want that identity, so I didn't take it. So when you look at me as a coach, and if you may not be working with me, and you're like, well, what does this guy know? Hey, I may not have been an advisor, but I've been an entrepreneur all my life. And I know what it's like to make a lot of money. I know what it's like to lose a lot of money. I know what it's like to have no money. And I know what it's like to make it again. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to rebuild yourself. And the reason why I bring this, and the reason why this is coming up in today in the conversation, in the last several weeks, I've been really, ever since I went on my mid-year sabbatical, I've been asking myself, like, what's my game? Like, what's the game? And just so everybody knows, there's two games. The first game is we would call the infinity game, which is the goal of the game is to keep playing. So as long as you're a financial advisor, as long as you're an entrepreneur, you're playing the game, you can still win, right? In other words, the goal of the game is to keep playing. That's the goal, okay? Think of it like if you play video games like having unlimited lives, okay? And I think everybody gets that. But then there's a second game inside of that game, which is the game of happiness. Like in other words, what's going to make you happy? What's going to make you fulfilled? And that's an interesting question because that changes, that morphs and evolves over time. See, when I was young, Joe, what's going to make you happy? Lots of effing money, lifestyle, the cars, right? That was the jam, right? Because I was single, I was young, that's what I wanted. I didn't have it, I didn't grow up. So remember, a lot of times as an adult, this goes back to Tony Robbins and psychic wounds. Whatever you lacked as a child, and you start realizing in retrospect what you lacked, you'll value. Most people value. Like that becomes kind of your thing. And obviously I grew up not a lot of money, and so that was my thing. And then I think as you evolve and, kind of go through different phases of life, a lot of us start families, things like that. I think, like that changes. Well, I hope it does. And so the last couple of weeks, I've been asking myself this very philosophical question, which is not number one, which is the goal of the game is to keep playing. I'll always coach. I'll always make money. I'll always add value. That's always my jam. But the second question, what's going to make you feel happy? What's going to make you feel fulfilled? Is it another 20% increase in your income? Is it, what is it? And the reason why I bring this up, additionally, is I think a lot of advisors get this idea about scale and growing and top line and AUM, getting to $1 billion or whatever it is, and you end up there and you're not happy. The reason why I bring this up also is I interviewed an advisor, probably going to work with a new client, referred to me. And, this guy, founder, if you will, it's called $650 million AUM, called $5.5 million top line shop, staff, it's got staff, so he's always stressed out. He's a great advisor, okay businessman, not so much operator, right? Hires people he likes, which is a terrible idea, and he's suffering for that. But here's really the scary part, okay? Let's say $5.5 million top line. I mean, it's going to sound weird when I say it, but hear me out. He's only clearing total income about 700. That's his personal profits before taxes, 700. You're like, where's the rest of the money going? Staff, overhead, inefficiency, you name it. Crazy marketing ideas, just trying to keep the wheels spinning, right? Trying to grow without, he's so obsessed with growth with no game plan, no vision, just more is better, right? And that is a byproduct. And I won't tell you what firm he grew up in. He's independent today. I won't tell you what firm he grew up in, but that firm's kind of ethos was no such thing as a bad relationship, no such thing as a too small of account, no such thing as a bad client. Let's go get it all, right? And if you're a young person and you end up that's your first gig in the game, and that's the kind of the indoctrination you get, right? Well, it's like anything else, man. It imprints deep into the psyche. And so fast forward, 20, 25 years now, right? That's what this guy has, and he's not happy. That's the worst part. He goes, I'd be happy being $1 million person all by myself, working from home. And this is why he reached out. He goes, Joe, I want you to show me a way that I can uncouple myself from all this. I may sell this to my juniors and get out, and I may just take my top 100 client and my one assistant, and we're going to do our thing. And I said, you know what? You'll make probably the same amount of money, and with probably 95% less BS. And that's exciting to him. Why? Again, I know he watches this, so again, I promised, I'm going to say this to him personally. I promise we're not going to get into anything that would identify you. His marriage is kind of not great. His relationship with his adult children are not great. His health is not that great. And yet, if you saw him at a conference and you looked up his business online, you would say, oh man, this guy's got it figured out. Look at the house he lives in, look at the office space, look at the team, look at all the accolades, look at all the awards he's won, right? All this stuff, right? He's one of the most unhappiest human beings you'll probably meet. And that really hit me. And his story is not unique to me. Over my career, countless, I worked with several Barron's 50 advisors in my career. Who oh man, you make the Barron's list, that's like making the Forbes top list in net worth, right? Totally unhappy, broken families, broken marriages, broken health. Bank account's damn good though.
Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode.
So I'm not here to say that money's not good. Let me be very clear on this. I'm not saying here money's not good. But if it's just about money without the other things in life that make it worth living, it's the ultimate failure. Tony Robbins has a great saying for this. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So listen what that is. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. So let's talk about the first F word, fulfillment. That is different than hitting your goals. Fulfillment is a vibe, it's an energy. It's something when you get up in the morning and you just know that you're living the life that you're supposed to be living. You're living the life that is on your terms. You're living the life of growth, contribution. You're living in a beautiful state. And, when you apply that rule set or that concept, everybody's got different rules what those things mean, obviously. But when you apply that rule set to your life, and this is what I've been doing the last several weeks, I'm like going, okay. And I'll share this with everybody. There's certain things that I look at today going, am I really happy? Am I really feeling fulfilled? I love the work. I love the fact that I transform advisors. Young, old, doesn't matter to me. I love that. You know why? It's not so much about, I can help somebody make more money as an advisor. I mean, that's cool. But you know what really makes me cool? What really gets me excited? When I help an advisor make more money and then they up their charitable contributions. They take care of their people. They live a better high quality life. They're happier. They're more fulfilled. That's what jazzes me. When I interview a potential new client for myself personally, which is kind of rare because I don't lose a lot of clients, it's like if it's just about making more money, like, hey man, I want to cobble this thing together and I want to go get it to like $2 billion and then I'm going to go get some PE money and then I'm going to exit this thing and I'm going to go buy a house in Cabo and blah, blah, blah. And like the whole thing is just make a lot of money and then get the hell out. And that's kind of the mission. I don't get excited by that. I just don't. Because what that tells me about that person is what? That everything is going to be a means to an everything's a vehicle. Everything is like not about helping others. Like every person on his team, every client that they get is a tool to get a certain outcome for the owner, right? And it doesn't mean the person's a bad person. So let me be very clear. It's not like, oh man, this person's unethical. No. It's just that be careful what you wish for, because that doesn't mean you're going to be fulfilled or happy. It just means you have a lot of money. And maybe as I get older, maybe I'm a little bit, I don't know, either I'm crazier or I have more wisdom or maybe a little bit of both. And I understand some of you who watch and listen to me are early in your career. So you're like, hey, Joe, this is a nice conversation, man. Hey, I'm just trying to put food on the table. I'm just trying to validate my contract. And I get that. And we all have done that. Okay? But let me just say this right now. That's a certain rule set. Survival, you have to survive and validate. But once you've done that, you've got to shift your rules to now of happiness, fulfillment, longevity, and so you can really enjoy the game. Because if you stay in that scarcity survival state, and here's what happened, it's a pattern. And so many advisors, and I will say the first 3 to 5 years is scarcity survival for everybody, for the most part. But there are a lot of advisors, because that's their pattern, that's kind of the way they operate. Year 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, they're almost like in a perpetual startup mode. Like the game doesn't get easier. The game gets bigger and it gets more challenging. And it feels like literally a giant game of whack-a-mole and running on a treadmill with no end. So one of the things I think is really important is that you just don't define economic success. But ask yourself, what's going to make me feel fulfilled? What is my ideal life and lifestyle? And I'm going to share a story. Another reason why this has come up in conversation. This past week, I talked to one of my clients, personal client now for about 5 or 6 years, successful. So it wasn't like this is like I'm failing out or anything like that. I've been in the game now for I think 16 or 17 years. We were on a one-on-one Zoom, and he's in his office, and he's got staff because he's a successful guy. And he goes, I got to talk about something. I'm going to call you on your cell phone. Stand by. It's like, okay. So in other words, I can't have this conversation in the office. So he calls me and he goes, look, man, I just want to let you know something. I said, what? And he goes, I've been thinking about this for a while. I said, okay, what were we thinking about? He goes, I've had enough. I've had enough of the game. I've had enough of the race. And he works for a large insurance company that have their kind of things that they have to do to validate things. We're not going to get the details on that. He said, like, I don't want to play anymore. I said, okay, so what are you going to do? He goes, well, I can sell my practice. I'm invested. I can kind of get some pension. He likes working with business owners. He goes, I'll probably do some coaching consulting with business owners. He goes, I'm probably going to move my family to Central America. This is like I'm hearing this out of the blue. And I go, walk me through why we're doing this. And he goes, I'm just not happy. Money's good, but I don't like playing the game anymore. This game. He goes, I want a different game. And that, because he understands, that's how I phrase things. He goes, I'm done with this game. I want a different game with a new set of rules. It's okay. I get it. And this is a person willing to walk away from a successful business, a successful career to do something different because they're not happy. Think about that. That takes a ton of guts. And I told him I'd help him pull it off. That was my commitment to him. But how many of us have woken up in the morning, whatever morning, and asked ourselves is this it? Is this what it's meant to be? Is this the version? Is this, what I need to be doing? How many of you fantasize about doing something else? Right? Think about it. Now, does that mean that, oh my God, I'm not committed to no, it doesn't mean anything. It just means like, hey, you're human. For many years, my wife asked me this question, and some of my very close clients have asked me, hey, Joe, if you hit the lottery, what would you do? I said, that's a great question. I'd go, I'd still coach. I'd still will. I would. I love it. And, and I've said that for, oh my God, decades probably. If you ask me that question today, I would probably say I'll coach, but I need to figure out how I'm going to do that. Right? Because there are other things in my life I want to explore. There's other passions, other pursuits. And I think the biggest failure in life for me, and again, I go and speak for me, and some of you know what this is. I have this thing called the rocking chair test. And the way I teach it, I always teach it in business planning, is I want you to think if you're given the grace of your last day, being aware that maybe your last day, or it's getting close. And I want you to imagine sitting on a porch in a beautiful scene. And I want you to imagine yourself sitting in a rocking chair, just slowly rocking back and forth. And you're able to have that moment to look back at your life. How many regrets would you have? How many, man, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I should have taken the risk, or I should have taken the opportunity, or I should have gone for it. And you didn't. And now it's too late. People ask me what drives me. That vision right there drives me. Not saying that I think all of us, nobody lives a perfect life. I have a ton of regrets. But it doesn't mean I want to add to them. And the reason why I just feel compelled to talk about this in this episode is I think a lot of you, like me, get up every once in a while with a question or questioning, what is it the hell we're doing? That is not a bad thing. I think it's good on a regular basis to check in with yourself. Now, here's a couple things I would say. Being an advisor is, in my experiences, the ultimate platform. Hear me out. I'm not going to make this a supersized episode, but I want to plant a seed. Please show me another profession. And if you got one, I'd love you to put it in the comments, where you can have time freedom, economic abundance, and low cost to entry. So in other words, I don't need to buy a $5 million franchise. Okay? Or invest in real estate or anything like that. Professional, time freedom, economic abundance. And now, locational independence. With Zoom and technology, you can do your business from anywhere. Now, that wasn't always true. So, time freedom, economic abundance, locational freedom. I know what some of you are saying, Joe, I got little kids. And I said, I get it. But if you needed it, like realistically, if one of your children got this offer to go do something, you have to move across the country, or your spouse got an offer to go do something and you have to move across the country, would you have to sell your business? No, you could just do your business. Time freedom, and no retirement date. We're not airline pilots. We're not professional athletes. We can play this game into our mid-70s, early 80s. It's cool. I'm going to wrap this up with this real quick. I hope this helps some of you. Make sure whatever it is you're looking to build in your game, whatever the rules of your game are, that you're asking yourself this question. Is this going to make me happy? Is this going to make me fulfilled? Is this moving me towards my ideal life and lifestyle? Or am I just doing it to make more money? Because if you're doing it to make more money, that's exactly what it'll be. And as a little side comment, if your goal is to make money so you can pay off debt, that's exactly what you'll do. Oh man, I just gotta need to make money to pay my bills. Well, that's what your brain will find. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. If you set your mindset to, man, I need my nuts 20 grand. So if I can have my business grow to 35,000, I can pay my assistant, have my overhead, I can now. So your brain goes, that's the mission. That's the mission. And that's exactly what you do. And that's why you can't have goals like that. If you have survival-based goals, you'll have a survivalist mentality and you'll survive. You will absolutely never thrive. So here's how I'm going to wrap this up. If any of this resonated with you, any piece, I'm not saying reach out and hire me or anything like that, right? I'm not for everyone. But I'd have you do at least some soul searching. And I'm not asking you to go blow your world up. That makes no sense either. That's like too rambunctious, if you will. But what I have you write down, and this is what I'm doing, the other reason I'm bringing this is this is what I'm in the middle of right now, is I'm writing down all the changes I want to make in my life and my business. Without like a timeline. This is not about setting a goal, setting a target, setting a timeline. No. This is about kind of, I call it the change list, right? Here are the things in my life I want to make changes on. Here are the things I feel like I'm tolerating. Here are things which they're okay, but they're not great. And then you start getting like if there were no limiting beliefs, no limiting conditions. And I can draw up my ideal life and lifestyle. No perceived limitations. Anywhere in the world, anytime in the world, anything. What would I want? And why? Ask yourself those questions. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Magellan Network Show. Forward this episode to someone you like. Don't forget to like, comment, leave us a review, whether it's podcast, YouTube. And I'll see you all again in 7 days.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.